Hello, everybody, and good evening. Welcome to the Sequester or the Silent Sequester podcast. I'm your host, Isaiah Goins, and I'm here with my two lovely co-hosts, Sasha and Chanel. Dylan, again, we're playing in a mini, so he's still in that. I got voted out, unfortunately. Whatever. But you know what? Who cares?
Here.
We're here to talk to Sequester.
Exactly. We're glad you're here.
Yes.
Exactly. So we got a lot of mixed feelings about tonight's episode. We'll talk about who got eliminated and everything. Obviously, if you're watching this, spoiler alert, but Muna left. So how do you guys feel about that? First of all,
Devastating.
I'm just still trying to figure out why. I mean, I do want to say, just Muna deserves so much kudos. She's 100% an amazing game player and, really did her best. And, thank you to Audrey and Sequester, but what Muna means for representation and really bringing a hijabi woman on our screens, it's amazing. And, I want to give Muna that moment because, we don't get that in reality TV. And it's so beautiful to see that. And, she deserves all the love.
Yeah, it's definitely really, really inspiring because it's a lot of times when, you go to work at a place or you go watch something, there's not a lot of good representation all around. Mm-hmm. So it's to see a player like Muna come on a game like this and be so strong and so well known and everything like that was just so awesome for not even just her community but just any kind of underrepresented community. So it was awesome to see a player like that. So it's just really sad to see her go, but I think she left her mark on her way out. Mm-hmm.
And all we know, she could return during the battle back. Yeah. So we're
ready.
For Muna. Yeah. So let's jump into this episode. So we started off with the recap like usual, and they leave it off of what happened after Natalie beats Katie, and she goes into the den, and there are the 3 boxes to try to find an LOS. We actually find out this time that if an LOS is taken, the other one is still going to be there, but once all the LOSs are gone, you're not going to be able to find another LOS until the 2 that are actively in the game are gone or used in some fashion. So I thought that was very interesting. Natalie actually doesn't find one. So Josh is still the first person with an LOS. We didn't actually find out if they spoke during this round
right.
or anything. So I thought that was a little interesting, but that's all we know right there. So obviously Natalie comes back into the game and everyone's kissing butt like usual. And Brent, first of all, we hear a couple players talk about how they feel about Natalie coming back. Brent's happy Katie's eliminated because now he doesn't have to honor that deal that he made with her. You have Billy hoping that Katie came back since Natalie was targeting her, but she was like, it's whatever, I don't really care. You got Spencer, he was lukewarm about it, but he's he thinks Natalie's a floater. So a lot of mixed feelings about Natalie coming back in comparison to when Josh came back into the game. But how do you guys feel about that?
I'm happy to see her back. When she went, well, obviously I really liked Katie. I really liked her vibe. I really liked her gameplay. It was super spicy. I think I would have been good with either one coming back in the end. I think what I liked about Natalie coming back is that she came in with this I feel with anyone who's been in the bottom of anything and fights their way back, it's this spitfire feeling. So she came in and I just was it was heads will roll because if Katie came back, it's just well, I was just dragged down, there's no vengeance or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it's Natalie and she's yo, cut the shit. She said something
yeah.
Cut the ball.
Yeah, cut the crap. I'm ready to play.
She's cut the crap. I'm in and I'm real now. So I'm interested to see how she's gonna handle the rest of it now that she's bit at the bottom now. I'm interested. Yeah, I'm assuming her and Josh didn't talk because I feel like they would show that in the episode because that's kind of a crucial thing. But at the same time, and like I'll leave it to you guys too, but like, do you think she should like reveal like this is happening and then pretend that she got one, you know what I mean? Or like go to Josh and be like, yeah, I got one too. Like what do we do with this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I actually made that note too about Luxury Row. Like first, I think it would almost like be beneficial to say I didn't get anything, like both to lie, just because I don't, to me it seems like they, especially with Josh and Natalie, I don't know that they trust each other. If it was Billy and Josh, I think that would be a different story. So I think that's number one, is like, I agree with you that for sure I would want to touch base, because I think that's, you know, you're grasping at straws, like any type of like connection, you need to take it. So I agree that I don't know that they were together, because we'll talk about it later, but like Josh was like always with the majority. So I don't know that they could have talked. And then like, yeah, second, I also was happy with either one of them coming back for different reasons. It was really interesting that Spencer called her a floater, because I don't know that she is a floater. I just think that no one really wanted to work with her. Maybe I think things change a little bit over the course of this episode, but I don't know that she necessarily is a floater. Currently, at least in this moment, where I felt like it was more that like everyone else kind of just had their little squad and she didn't, and she was trying to make nice with Billy, especially, I think, but it just didn't work.
I think almost, and I think Billy actually got it right here last round, where I think Spencer kind of misunderstood it. He called her a floater, where I actually think she was playing Sequester at the different speed on the comparison to everybody else. Because when Billy was saying you need to play harder, I really just think she meant like catch up. Because Natalie, I think she was going into this thinking like, oh, this is like a big brother, when it's like, no, you need to move faster, you know. So I think that the battle match and everything really just lit a fire under her. And now I think she's kind of like woken up almost. And now she's caught up to everybody, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel like it was like she, like I said, like when she came back, it's like this like little fire, you know, that's like kind of making you play a little bit more. And yeah, Isaiah, you're totally right. Like this is not Big Brother. Like I'm sure a lot of people, like I think we've all played a Sequester or Mini or whatever at some point. We know it's just like this really fast-paced thing where you got to get going, or else you're just going to get voted out.
Exactly.
So you just got to be on it. And if you just watch everyone playing and everyone talking, even Josh like talking to Spencer at one point today, everyone's talking at like 1,000,000 miles per hour at all times, just like trying to get things in. Like I'm out of breath even trying to recap like all the talking that they did. Like it was like so much, like there's so much going on, because you see that clock, you know, on that fireplace, like it's just going, like it is like they got the 5 minutes, the 10 minutes, whatever it is, like they got to get it all in. And you know, I think Natalie was kind of just like chilling before, and now I think she's like kind of throwing shots, and she got involved and she got herself in with like that pact or whatever pact this time, because she was like, keep me in the loop, like you let me down, like you know, get me in on this, you know.
That's exactly what I was thinking, where like, you know, now I've played a game with Natalie. It was a Zoom game, but yeah, it was really interesting, because I agree that she's just, I think, such a good person that sometimes it might be harder to like catch up in the same way, because you're just kind of like trying to build that one-on-one relationship. But if you're not like Billy, right, where you're kind of like in a place where people really do want to work with you, and then you can kind of build that genuine, Billy and Shireen, actually, both of them, where they were able to build that connection, because Shireen also was wasting a good amount of time, like talking and smoothing things over. And I was like, no, come on. I don't want you to be out again, you know, or like left out, I mean, again. So I hear you.
Actually, to add on to that, because I think we were talking about this on in the group chat before we even started. It feels like, especially with this season, there's not a lot of downtime, where the social players like a Shireen, like a Natalie, they kind of thrive with those personal connections.
Yeah, totally.
But I don't know if it's like a different tempo or something, but like it seems like this season they changed it to where they're really just not allowed to speak at all.
Exactly.
until the challenge starts, where it seemed like they had like at least a small little area where they could like at least converse before like the challenge started. So that's also a little bit it's different, you know, but I feel like that downtime was very crucial for a lot of players last season, and I feel like their kind of archetype needs that downtime to find a lot of success.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I feel like it really helps the bigger threats, like bigger threats and the bigger players in general, right? Like a Jacob who like only needs to kind of like talk to everyone during a round versus I think like he might get in a little bit of trouble if folks were like, well, I thought we were cool. We have a final 2. Why aren't you really talking to me while we're eating dinner, or, you know, whatever, stuff like that. So I think it really helps those players and really hurts. I think it would even hurt Brent, because if they saw him or like his type of a player outside of like this like intense 10-minute round, like I really think it would help them maybe see like, oh, okay, he's not so crazy, kind of goes a little wild in this 10 minutes or whatever in these rounds. So it's really interesting where it helps a few but hurts a few. You just want to be the type of player that it helps.
Exactly.
And it actually, now that I think about it, like in comparison from this episode and last episode and then the first one, when they had that downtime to speak to each other, they were so focused on the challenge, which made the challenge a lot more interesting. Where the last 2 challenges, they've always spent the first chunk of the time conversing, talking about what happened last round, instead of focusing on the challenge, which leads to this chaotic ending.
Yes.
So yeah, it's very crucial to have that free time just to talk amongst themselves. But okay, so after that we find out what the challenge is, and it is called Majority Rules. To make a long story short, basically the Sequester bot's going to ask the house a question, and then everyone is going to have to vote on a name. It's based off of what everybody's opinion is. If the majority of let's say that we're in a house and the question was, who in the game is most likely to taint the jury? Let's say that the answer, we all went with Sasha. Let's say Sasha and Chanel said Sasha. And then I said Chanel. I would automatically be in the bottom and I would be up for elimination. If everybody just said the same name at the same time, they're going to a wheel, and whoever's name it lands on is automatically eliminated. So it's one of those challenges. So I don't know. Do you guys think that they maneuvered this challenge correctly, or?
Yeah, I think so. So I've played this round when I played Asian mini, and it was so funny because I agree that the first name, like, it's nice, but you get so paranoid and you don't want to ever be on the outs that the last name you hear, usually folks will end up going with it. And then the people that trust the first, they're a little bit more loyal and will trust the first name or the first whatever object they heard, like first answer. If you go with that, I think you're more than likely up for elimination. And that's actually what happened. Someone gave me the answer like last 1 second and I changed it, and it was the right answer. And I wasn't on elimination. So I really do think that you have to just keep your like ears open and like always be listening and gathering info and just like noticing who's in every room. That's just the biggest thing. And the best way to play this game is like you just have to be in every room that majority is in. And that's just the only way.
Yeah, totally. I think I forget who had said it in the episode. Was it Brendan? Yeah, Brendan.
Yeah.
He was just like basically like you just need to get like the very last answer. So he just made sure. I think he just made sure he was like he played this round really well actually. Because he was like kind of figuring out where the big groups are and just kind of made sure he was there. And then Muna played it well too because she was like, there's certain people that I don't want here. And she's like, obviously the Josh answer is 100% not the one that I want because the people that I'm actually working with, like none of them are in this room right now. So this can't be the final one. So I need to get them in a room. So like Rachel and I don't think Rachel
Billy. And Billy also noticed that. Yes.
Sorry, it was Billy who had said that. Billy had said, like, no one that I'm actually working with is in this room. So like like this can't be the one. But I think Muna's the one who kind of like grabbed everyone and got them in that room. So it was like, yeah, you just got to pay attention to what that last one is. So unfortunately, like, you know, Brent and Spencer and Marcelo just were in that room at the time, right? So I think they all maneuvered it pretty well. I think they knew what they needed to do, and luckily they got it in the end because it would have been a big mess if they had not got that one big group at the end.
So the challenge begins, and like I said, the question was, who in the game is most likely to taint the jury? I don't think anyone went with like their own little like opinions.
No.
They just went with whatever the house said. So the house begins scrambling almost immediately. People are running left and right. Everyone's just no organization. But Brendan plans to run to the biggest group and lock a name down so that will eventually turn, because he knows eventually that'll turn to the fake name, but he just wants to make sure that he's a part of almost any big majority regardless, so he at least knows who's saying what. Josh tells this big group of 7 people that his name should just be the answer, and they were all agreeing. There was like, all right, cool, whatever. And they were like, if anyone asks for a fake name, let's say Brent, because Brent said just use his name as a fake name. On paper, this makes sense, but it was so early. It was like that was doomed almost immediately. Like Billy actually already said like she doesn't believe in the plan at all. Brendan already knew that. He was like, this isn't going to stick. But Billy.
Brendan was almost like the self-fulfilling prophecy, right? He's like, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And then he just made it not work. Cause he was like one of the first people that were like, so this is not going to work. What should we do? And I was like, no, maybe you try. Not that I care, but I just thought it was so funny.
Yeah, no, totally. Sorry, go ahead.
Like no, you're good. I was saying when he pulled Billy and Josh together, they were like, oh yeah, we need to stick together. We need to stick together. Like they agreed, but like they all knew that they were just spouting BS to each other.
It was way too early. Like right at the beginning of their round, it's like broken telephone, right? Like what was said at the beginning, or whatever the word is at the beginning, or I guess the name in this instance, that's not gonna stick. It's gonna morph. It's gonna change by the end of it, right? So I feel like in this, I think Brent thought he was like super safe in this instance because like this is a big group. Like even if I think some people fall off, like it's still a big enough group that we should be okay. And like the people he was talking to were like assuring him and everything. But by the end, somehow another big group got together and managed to wrestle this back. So yeah, I'm not sure how I would have even handled it. I guess I would have just tried to find that big group, right? It was a weird situation how it all ended up.
Yeah, and I think no, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I was about to say it's almost like the people. It's crazy because like on paper it makes sense, but it's like being in that big room kind of screwed a lot of people like later in the game, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and that's what I found interesting is almost that it's not even which room you're in, because for Rachel especially, right? And Shireen, so that alliance as well, they lucked out because they just have loyal alliance members that were willing to go back and tell them, hey, like here's the actual plan. So that's why it's almost like a Josh, a Spencer, and Brent, 3 of them that didn't vote the right way, like almost they just don't have enough people, I think, writing for them, which is also another issue. It's like even if you're in the big rooms, but like if everyone is in on the plan that they don't want you, or they don't, want to tell you they want you on the chopping block, you're also, shit out of luck.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, like Joseph brings up a good point in the chat. Like, it's always so crazy to see like a game that we played in a mini, like happening there it is. Yeah. Playing out live. Like there's a couple that we've seen play out live, that like games that I've played, and it's like so much crazier in person than it is behind a screen. Like trying to use the same strategy doesn't always work because you're in rooms and there's no room limits. Like you're just it's all out in the open. Like someone could catch a whiff of something and change it completely. Like it's absolutely wild. Like you can't hide, it's all out in the open. So it was just like like I've played this one, I don't think in a Sequester, but I've played this one in other games, and it's just like usually it's just like, whatever, fun answer, like I'm just gonna kind of go with like this, what this person probably said or what I think. But in this instance, it's like this could like put me on the block if I don't figure this out.
And it really is like that crazy, you know, because I remember like going from room to room. For those that maybe haven't played Sequester, like it really feels like you are on the chopping block, even though no one maybe is even going for you. You're just like, no, but if I'm in the wrong room and if I don't, you know, understand the right thing, then like I'm out. And so that almost paranoia, like there needs to be some space for that too, because, or space for us to talk about it, because I think like Muna might be telling me the right thing, but because I'm so paranoid, I'm like, maybe she's lying and maybe it is me and maybe I am going to go on the chopping block. And then you try to like save yourself so much that you almost go into another tailspin, because I remember being like, I don't know anyone in this mini, like does someone tell me the right name? And I got so worked up on it. So I think, yeah, it's so hard like being in it, but like I really am grateful that we were able to play this space and play it right.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're gonna go see another group of people where it's more so just like a pair of people. It's Shireen, and she pulls Natalie aside like immediately, and basically she just wants to have a one-on-one time, because she's like, yeah, I get the challenge, but like I'm playing this game differently than everyone else and I need to, you know, make organic bonds. So she tells Natalie how the vote went down last time. And basically, she does some major damage control for Billy here, telling her that they need to reconnect because, you know, they have like the little girls alliance going on. And it's interesting because at first, judging my last episode, we didn't really see Billy interact with Muna, Rachel, and Shireen that much that episode. So this was almost like a reconfirmation that they're a good four still, of a 4-person group. And it seems like they're trying to bring Natalie in as like that fifth piece, because they really need like these votes. And I think Natalie was just very happy to finally be like brought into some social game. And like we're gonna hop up a little bit, but Natalie and Billy they make up, and Natalie feels like Billy owes her deep down inside. So this is almost like an IOU at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, totally. Like I think now Natalie really has Billy in her pocket, which is someone you want to have in your pocket.
Yes.
Actually, there's a poor Billy. I still think Billy's playing pretty smart, but there's 2 people now that have Billy in their pocket, which is Natalie and now Marcelo after this throne vote thing. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh no, now you have favors to people that you may not necessarily actually be working with whatsoever. You know, which I think you might work with her, but I don't know.
But and that's my that was also, I actually wrote that in there when Marcelo and Billy have that conversation. Like, does Billy know that she probably will now owe Marcelo something?
I don't think she knows.
Right. That's why I was like, oh no, Billy. I mean, again, we'll talk about it later, but like not the worst thing, but like don't do that.
Yeah. I mean, and they said in Big Brother, it's like writing a check that you can't really cash, but you can bounce checks. You can bounce it. So, you know, we could see Billy start being like cutthroat and just like, nope, I'm not actually doing it.
Yeah, I don't care about it. Yeah.
The last thing we actually saw from this interaction though is Billy is starting to develop the same mindset that Muna and Shireen's having, which is Spencer needs to go. So what they basically do is push all the blame onto Spencer. And I guess that further brings Natalie into this little unit of theirs, of the all girl alliance as an outlier. Yep. But so that's what's going on over there. So Muna and Spencer in another room is having a one-on-one. And I guess, I mean, they're basically saying like, let bygones be bygones, work together. I think both of them know this is never going to happen, but I mean, you know, they both say just for the face-to-face interaction. So like if one of them do the other wrong, they can just call it out. But Muna basically says that she wants Brent and Spencer on the other side of the house for this vote.
Yeah, which was really smart, because it's like those are the 2 people I don't think she actually wants to work with. She's just working with them out of convenience.
This
of
is
them
actual.
going after her. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is the actual marriage. Like, I actually wrote that from what Brent and Katie were trying to do, but I feel like this is exactly what actually should have happened. Like the marriage of convenience. I think that's what they called it.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah, but to me, I was like, oh, okay, like this is so like you're a snake, keep your friends close, your enemies closer, like moment. But I wasn't mad at it. I liked it. I think it made a lot of sense. And I think Rachel, like, I felt happy because I think we talked about this last episode where we were like, what is Rachel doing? Like, does she really understand, where her place is in the game? But like, this is where I finally felt like Rachel is coming into her own and she's really like understanding, right? I can, trust him as far as I can throw him. But for now, we're good and it's okay.
Yeah, totally.
So Jacob also wants to pull Natalie in. Like a lot of people see that she won the competition, that she's here to play now. So Jacob basically in his mind says that he wants to get all the people who voted to keep Natalie in hopes of solidifying some sort of deal. So he wants to grab those people for this challenge and all vote a majority person, just so they can maybe make an alliance sometime down the road. Yeah. So he talks to Shireen and Rachel, and Jacob thinks that Muna threw her vote last round. And he tells that to Shireen, but Shireen doesn't believe that. She thinks that she voted with them and all that. So both sides are just kind of like, no, this is my ally, I know what she did. No, this is my ally, I know what she did. They're just going back and forth at this point. But it's not like they're targeting each other, but they don't really know where Muna voted truly. So
honestly, sorry, go ahead. You go first.
Oh, yeah. And I think this also is an interesting foreshadowing for like future. What Jacob we're seeing is now starting to sow the seeds about like future rounds, like especially after his conversation with Natalie. It's almost like, I think I trust her, so like, let's figure this out kind of deal. And then Shireen also, I think those two, I felt like more than most people in this episode, really. Shireen, I think, had a standout moment because she was making all the right calls and was really sussing where all the pieces on the board were. And I think Jacob 100% is just so good and set up so well. But I was really shocked by him and Muna, his towards Muna, because I don't know that Muna was giving that energy back to him, but he was kind of like being like, she didn't vote where she said she was. Like, I wasn't even sure why he felt like he needed to say that.
Yeah, I here's how I see it. Mm-hmm. Here's how I see the play. We know 100% Jacob knows where Muna voted.
Yeah.
100% he knows where Muna voted. So he's just trying to cover himself right now. So he's going to Natalie and he's like, that's so strange because I voted to keep you.
Yeah.
So now he's good with her. Then he's going to Muna's allies and saying, that's so strange because I did this and, watch out, because I think he knows that Muna's like this really good player.
Yeah.
And is sowing the seeds of, well, you should trust me more instead of Muna, because I don't think he 100% has the trust of the people that are working with Muna, but they got her. So I think he's just like planting, like Isaiah said, planting these seeds, but he's planting these seeds to make him look better.
Yep.
Muna does in this point, and already Spencer's already like mad at Muna for not working with him. So why not have a bunch of people, mad at her as well to lay these seeds down for her. So I was just like, I was so surprised because we know that Marcelo's his like number one, but like Muna is probably his number two or whatever and would protect him no matter what. And it's just like, it's gone now. You've thrown it under the bus,
right?
Which is fair because that's how you play the game. You want to get rid of all the strong players and you be the number one. But it was just like, it was so interesting to see it actually happen in person, because it's always behind the scenes with minis. And now in this show, you're actually seeing it being laid down, and it's like, oh, this is sneaky. Like, but this is good. Like how you're laying it down. It's very strategic, but I don't think, Shireen and Rachel and Billy believe any of that whatsoever, because if Muna's going to stand up for what she believes in, no matter how in danger she might be, you know, because she won't let a man tell her what she needs to do. Same. But like, you know, so they did not believe that for a second.
Yeah, and that's why I really liked Jacob trying, because it still didn't blow back on him in the same way it did for Brent, right? Where like Brent always gets caught, and then like it like kind of turns on him and the target, then he becomes like the point of conversation. Whereas I think Jacob does it so politically and so well, that I think it was more that like Shireen definitely was like, oh, I think he just doesn't understand what's going on, like that kind of moment, instead of like oh, he's sneaky moment. So like kudos to him, because again, I think it could have gone worse than it did, but just the tone and the like humbleness almost in that voice versus his confessional, really, like I think again, it's like he's already on to next week, which I really appreciate. And I think he's one of those players that can do that. A lot of others, I would say, like need to stay in this week and solidify this week, but thankfully I think he can go into next week, or he could at that point think about next week and solidify, okay, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? How do I do it? Great.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Like his approach is just like really like low key and good. When I was watching it, I was just like very nervous watching it, being like, Jacob, be careful, Jacob, be careful, Jacob,
right.
be careful. Like, because there's times when people go in and they start like doing this strategy, and then they just kind of go too much and push it too hard, and then it's like, what is this person doing? Like, why are they doing this? But I think he did it really well. Like, I think he just laid down enough to make people question, but not. And even when he talked to Natalie versus when he talked to like Shireen and Rachel or whatever, he did it in a different way. So he knew how to approach the situation for each one, right? So,
and the best way to play any of these games, right, is exactly what you said, where we know he knows where the votes are going. So I think it's almost like when you know the information but you play dumb is almost the best possible space for you to be in, because then you'll end up getting more info, which he did.
Exactly.
Just to add another perspective on it, I think in my eyes that coming in, the Katie's, the Jacobs, the Munas, and Brents, they came in with like some sort of like following almost, where I think that grace period of people being like, oh, these are these people, we can't touch them and all of that. I think Katie going last round was really that point where people are like, wait, why are we keeping these people around now? So it's like they're starting to treat them like they're on equal footing as everybody else now, where like even starting the last episode, you saw people were starting to air out Jacob's laundry. They're saying like, oh yeah, he's good with Marcelo, he's good with Muna, and I think people are really onto his game. And he's like, all right, I need to like reset. I need to put some distance from Muna and myself. And I think that he's starting to push people towards Muna so they can start targeting her instead of targeting him. Yeah. So that's how I saw it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the last thing I wanted to say is we also during this conversation got some very interesting insight from Rachel, where she was saying that she can tell that Jacob's playing like leagues ahead of everybody at the moment. But instead of targeting him, she doesn't feel the need to, because he's not coming after her right now. So she's going to work with him at close distance for short term, but long term, he's not a part of her plans.
Yep.
Oh God, you got something there?
No. I said yep, and that's exactly why I think Rachel is finally shining and seeing that.
Yeah. So we go in and we see Spencer, and he gives his insight on the challenge, and he basically says he doesn't care who the vote is. Basically, he just wants to make sure he's in the majority, and he's all good. He speaks to Brent. He speaks to Brent, and basically Brent has been doing this a couple rounds, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm starting to see it like I said this last episode, but I was like, if they don't actively come for him this episode, then I think he's gonna be here for a while. And
agreed.
He's getting away with it. He's throwing people under the bus, and it's like, all right, you know how Jacob's like growing seeds very like delicately? It's like Brenda's like throwing the seeds at you, but like it's sort of working somehow.
But he's not. he's a little less like intense than last episode.
Yeah,
I
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, totally.
And
yeah,
I think that's what
intense.
Yeah, and I think that's what's helping him because like even I mean every round he's like speaking to you. Listen, he's really tall, so that factor is like him literally looking down on you, unfortunately, is gonna be an issue in addition to a few other things. But like I really want to give him like the props that I think even for him, I'm sure he has jitters and I'm sure he's like feeling a lot of like, I've like talked about these shows forever and now I'm about to gas out so early. So maybe like it's almost like to what you were saying, Isaiah, about how folks feel about these big names. I think it's also vice versa, where they're also like being like, okay, like let me calm down a little and let me like get it together, because I think Brent like played it really well, where besides Muna, I don't know how many folks were really like feeling, and Rachel were like really pushing for him in that way. They were very much like, just not me. That's where everyone was in this round, at least.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I actually I was watching Brent this round and just being like, okay, he's been pretty good. Like he's being pretty low key, like pushing names, but not being like super aggressive about it. Like the only time he got like kind of like more aggressive was when he was trying to protect himself, but he was like, that's what everyone does in that sense. And like I think Spencer was being way more over the top than Brent was, because Spencer was basically threatening everyone to be like, I'm stronger than you. I'm like, you know, I'm good at athletic competitions. If you put me in, you're going to lose. Like, I'm going to beat you. So it was just like, and then Brent's was like, hey, just so you know, it's not going to always be an athletic competition. So don't be afraid to throw him in just because of that. So like his logic actually made a lot of sense. Yeah. And I think he was just like, there's a couple times where he was getting nervous and being like, hey, like whatever, but it wasn't like super over. Like, I think it was fine, but it was just like, I think he played this round really well, because even with him on the outs, he still managed to like get it all off of him.
And Rachel really didn't vote for him. That's the biggest win for him. Yeah.
And Josh did.
Oh my, that was another note I did. I was like, baby, what is you doing? Because with Josh, I was like, are you like, because to me, again, Josh, I really hold in high regard with social capital in the house. So I don't know what happened. With Josh.
Maybe he thought Spencer would pull him in, but like he's the last person Spencer's going to be throwing.
Yeah, and that's another thing I didn't understand. It's fine. It all worked for Brent, but like not pushing the like Spencer just said everyone in that room is going to get voted in, so everyone else should vote for Spencer, because like he's most likely going to call out someone from that room, blah blah blah, you know, whatever. But I do think that Brent's knowledge of Sequester really helped him, because he said it's a gender neutral competition, blah blah. So I think again Brent was saying all the right things in a calmer way, which we don't want him to not be himself. Like that's why that's why he's on the show. But I think you have to be more palatable, which is why I think a lot of folks felt not bad, but like took a breath because he was out on the like majority vote or majority name.
Yeah.
And actually during this conversation, I totally forgot to bring up, Brent was throwing Muna under the bus.
Oh
yeah. So that's really what ignited. Like that's what ignited Spencer to be like, oh, yes, burning me again. Brent, so I can see why they're doing a little squeaky noise every time Brent's on the screen now.
That is the best, I'm telling you. The rat edit. But hey, listen, Hunter won last time and he got the rat edit. But
yes, he did.
Yeah. He was always squeaking. Whenever Hunter walked in the room, it was the same thing. But Hunter was always the one throwing the hinky vote. That I think it was because of that more than anything. But yes. I agree. I think I'm wondering if Brent wasn't pushing Muna so hard, would Muna still be targeting him? I think so, but we'd love to hear what y'all think.
Yeah, like that whole when Brent threw Muna over, I was like, Muna is not catching a break with anyone.
Yeah.
Right now. Like everyone's throwing Muna under. And again, like these other people are just like kind of skating by they're scheming at the same time. But like, just because Muna is just like a bit more like, what is it? Like holding her ground and just refuses to like, change that. Like, you know.
Like,
They don't like it.
I mean, that's my biggest issue with this whole thing. But like a legit 2-time winner is just not even being mentioned still. Like at this point, just let him win then. If y'all like, they're almost gonna cannibalize each other. That's probably where I see this going. But I don't know. Muna at least called him out a little bit, but
yes.
it was interesting how Brent is still calling out Muna versus because I feel like Muna is. Like, I feel like a little bit more genuine with Brent than like Jacob is, which Shireen we know tells him later. But like, so that's why, again, another reason why I was like, Muna is at least talking to you, holding conversation with you. You closed the door in her face, and she's still like, last episode, and she still didn't really like come for him in the same way. So like, give her a little bit of like break and not even a break, but just like some rope. Because I think she did a slack because she did a lot. I feel like for him and but he's not having it.
Yeah, and I this is before he kind of knew he was on the outs too. So it was like it's like he was already throwing her under before.
Yes.
Yeah, and I get it because when people play games, they're like, oh, this person's throwing your name out just so you get that little bit of trust. But it's like Muna was actually kind of willing. Well, no, not really. I was going to say willing to work with him, but really she wasn't because she was trying to get him on the outs in the end.
But she was just more tolerable of him, I'll say, than like maybe a few others that he thinks he has.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's just like throw under the Muna under the bus episode of Sequester.
Oh, that was so frustrating.
Yeah.
Do you guys think there's a possibility that people are starting to see the all girls alliance coming together maybe? And that's a possible reason for people to start targeting her maybe, and they maybe see her as this like figurehead of the all girls alliance possibly? Because I mean, well, like I said with Jacob, I think people are starting to air everyone's laundry out and see like where certain powers are going. And I mean, at least I can say as a viewer, because I mean, we can see everything.
Right.
But it seems like those girls are really like traveling as a pact around the house now.
Yeah.
That could play a factor. I mean, we don't have any evidence off of that yet, but that could play a factor maybe. I don't know. I mean, that's just speculation at this point.
My only rebuttal, because again, like I think we're what people are thinking, we're not always getting in a confessional. So more than likely, my only rebuttal is that folks are still not taking Rachel and Shireen and maybe even Billy, I'll say, but more Rachel and Shireen, not as seriously. I think like almost their own cloud, like they're clouding their own judgment and a little bit of their own ego, whatever it is. But like that's why I think they're going to be underestimated for a little bit longer. That's why I don't know if they're going to notice it just yet. I think for Muna, she's Muna, right? Like Jacob said, she's Muna, and I think it's more that her star power is like the bigger draw for her to be a target versus I think this all girls alliance. I think just because of how awful reality TV has been for us, I think there's always in the back of your mind, like they could be an all girls alliance, but we know it doesn't work, blah, 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 blah. So I think folks like their own prejudice. Their own prejudice is why I think this might work, but let's see. But like for right now, I don't think so because folks are just underestimating. We're seeing a lot of like egos and, a lot of like, just like toxic masculinity, and I think there's just not like folks aren't giving enough space for what's actually going down, which is why Billy didn't even get sussed last episode.
Yeah, I feel like it's all about presence, right? So like, yes, Muna has like the star power, but she just has this presence that's just like boss bitch, like don't get in my way, like whatever. Like she just has this presence about her when she speaks, when she does things, like the way she talks, everything about that kind of makes her stand out. And I feel like people get scared about that, especially with her. So I feel like that's why she's like the target over the other three, because the other three are way more chill, low key, just like, one-on-one conversations, like all that kind of thing. Not saying Muna's not chill or anything. She just has this presence about her that makes her stand out from a crowd, so that's why the other three no one's really worrying about, because they're like, what are they gonna do? Like they're not gonna come for us or whatever. But really in the last episode, really proved that they will come for you, because they definitely had no problem coming for Spencer in the last episode, and they didn't have trouble coming for him again in this episode. So really, I think people need to watch out for those three. I think they could go pretty far. I think they have good social games, and I think they're just like just good strategy, low-key strategy, and I feel like people can trust them or use them in their back pocket or whatever. So I just think Muna was the sacrificed one, because she was the one who's not going to take anything, right? So that's all it is.
And that's what I was going to say. To me, almost, will they now get farther because Muna isn't there? So like they're even less likely to get, kind of called out, sussed out. And then on the flip side, will they get as much information? Because Muna was part of the big conversation. She was relaying it back. So to me, it's like, let's see how I do think that Shireen now will maybe take up that like information funnel space in that alliance. But I really do think that it might help the three of them in the long run.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, do you even want to be that big player anymore? Because like, the big players are the one who are getting dragged and actually voted out. And then you get dragged anyway. And then you're the ones at the last 3 episodes, you're the ones coming back. So it's like,
exactly.
It's like your likability, or the likelihood of you coming back is so high. So it's like, why do I need to even play if I'm just going to be dragged in anyway and then come out and all these big players are just leaving? You know what I mean? So it's like, do they need to play? Do they need information? Like, who knows?
And that's where these kind of players, right, have to use it to their advantage, where it's almost like you just want to be in the room. You don't want to like take up too much space, because the bigger ones are looking like they're going after each other because they can't trust each other to save their life. So they're going to go after each other. And then thankfully, that means that these kind of players that aren't as well like known, right, or aren't as many followers as we said or whatever, I think they'll get to kind of shine, because these bigger ones are going to unfortunately take each other out, or at least call each other out, maybe not take each other out.
Yes, totally.
So we go to the kitchen, and Jacob takes his opportunity to talk to Natalie one-on-one. Everyone wanted one-on-one time with Natalie this episode. I thought that was funny. So Jacob basically tries to solidify something with Natalie, because now, like I said, almost just like with Josh, people see that she's playing the game. And people, I guess, it seems like when you win a battle match, people have like this newfound respect for you almost. So basically, he tells Natalie that he thinks Muna voted against her, and she thinks that Muna voted with her. Another back and forth like usual, whatever. But at the end of this conversation, basically Jacob wants to cut a deal with Natalie, and Natalie says to his face that he will take Muna out for him. Jacob is very happy about this, thinks it's authentic, and wants to work with her, where she is actually like, I don't really want to go to the end with Jacob, but like if he wants to take me a few rounds and like take the tar off my back, by all means, I'll work with him. This is actually the first like conversation, like strategy conversation I've seen this season where someone who is actively working with him has been like, yeah, I'm just kind of like, they have like the upper hand over them. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Like this is definitely the first time.
Yeah, I think Rachel is a little bit that way, but I agree. I think Rachel just doesn't have enough, like how folks are coming up to Natalie and kind of giving her props. Rachel just doesn't have that. So yes, I agree that I think this is like the first moment where we see, oh, things might go bad for Jacob. And I think Jacob sussed it though, because he said like she could go and tell everyone what I'm saying, or maybe she does want to work with me. So that's where I think, again, like I said, I really feel like Jacob is playing well. He's really laying a foundation for the next few rounds at least. And that's why he's not going to go out next round, or folks aren't going to try to target him because they're like, oh, I am working with him for now, or in the short term, I'm working with him. So to me, he's set up well, even if they might like do the strategy of keep your enemies closer. You're now taking your enemy a little bit farther than I think he should be going. But good for like we love it, but game wise.
Killing it. Just staying under the radar.
Yeah.
Somehow even when brought up that he's done these things, it's like, oh, okay, whatever. Anyways.
Exactly. To live a life like that, I don't think that would ever happen for me.
I'm just gonna chill under this radar.
Oh man.
So we move on and it gets back to focusing on the challenge. And it just starts getting a little crazy. That group of 7 that originally had basically the power, it seems like that name is all over the place now. And you can't really, like Chanel said earlier, this isn't the mini, so like there's no room limit. There's nobody to scream over your voice when you talk shit.
Oh my God.
Literally, this small room turns to just like the entire house, basically just sitting there. Like, all right, so is the name still Josh? Name still Josh? And when they all air out, Muna basically is like, okay, hold on, like what's going on? She's like, are we trying to go to the wheel? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So she gets a new group of people that consisted of Josh, Billy, Brendan, Natalie, Rachel, basically the people who walked in at the last second.
Yeah.
And she gets those people there. We're like, all right, we're voting Rachel this time. I'm not going to the wheel. We're voting Rachel. And if we need to stay here and just so no one goes around spreading the word, then that's what we're going to do. And everyone agrees. And this was very Boston Rob-esque, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like that's something he would do. It's almost like a buddy system. But I mean, in my opinion, this was the correct way to go about it.
Yes.
And I was impressed by that.
Yeah, I think her allies were in the room. That's the biggest thing, where I think if you get buy-in from like 2 to 3 people in that room, the others are more than likely going to follow a suit. And just like Brendan, I think he was like anyone but Brent almost, I feel like, because I think he's okay with Spencer. So he was like, look who's in the room, cool, I like all of these people, so that's fine. I think she's definitely gets the credit for it, and I think it was helpful that she had buy-in already from a few people in that room to where she could kind of be like, this is what I want to do, this is what we should do together in our mutual interest. So I really think that she said all the right things, and the folks really like were like, okay, I'm locked in, I get it.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's with that whole situation and like him being like, any of the people who are in that other room, I'm going to take you in. There's so many more people that have done him more dirty, like Spencer, than Muna. Muna's not actually working with him whatsoever. There's people who are actually working with him that have done him dirty. So it's like, why are we not talking about Brendan, who voted for you? Why are we not talking about, Brendan voted for, sorry, my bad.
Brent, yeah.
But he also didn't tell you about this flip that was going on either.
Brent. Yeah. Sorry, Brendan did vote. You're right.
Yeah, Brendan voted for Brent. Sorry, I mixed him up. So he did vote for Brent, but that was just to save his butt. But also that's fine because that's helpful for Spencer as well. But he didn't tell you about this room flip. He didn't tell you about the Rachel situation.
Exactly.
Jacob voted for you in the other thing when he really didn't need to. He could have voted for Brent because Spencer definitely had enough votes for that. Spencer definitely had enough votes to go. So it's like people who are actually working with you are actually doing you more dirty from this situation that you see going down right now. And Jacob also knew about the Rachel thing and didn't tell you. So you have 2 people who are working with you that have done you dirty. So sorry, I'm just going to talk about it because it's weird to me.
Yeah, no. This is exactly why you can see his motivation, where to me, it wasn't just about Muna. It really wasn't, because he kept saying, you did do me wrong once, you're bad, do me wrong twice, fool me twice, it's on me, blah, blah. And I was like, but she's never fooled you. So like, what are you even talking about? And I think that Muna almost started to say that, and then he ended up walking away. But that's where I was really just getting like irked by it, because to me, it's like, Jacob actually doesn't have your back. Brendan, unfortunately, is playing a really good game where he'll look you in the eye and is like telling you like, yeah, you and I are kind of the same players. So like, I'm with you. Don't worry. And which is also what Josh ended up doing at the end of this round. But like, to me, it's almost like all these people are blowing smoke up your ass and like you're just kind of letting it happen. But then he's so fixated on Muna, which ultimately leads to like everyone pinning it on him.
Yeah, it's just I don't understand it. Like I think, yeah, he just seems mad because she won't work with him, but at the same time, like, what is she getting out of it to work with him, or in any way whatsoever? But yeah, it's just like thinking back, it's like I don't understand why it's Muda.
Exactly.
Muda has not done anything, well, I guess she has done some stuff by leaving him out of it, but at the same time, what have your allies done for you whatsoever?
Yeah, and
it's nothing.
Yeah, and that's, to me, it's like, if he's coming back, like, he needs to take stock of his game and really like understand what the heck is going on. Because to me, it's like they come back. Natalie did it well, where I think Natalie was really able to like take stock and be like, "Hey, Billy, and like, let's hug it up, blah blah blah. I have a plan." But like, if you don't come back and you're not like, here's where all the pieces are now, how do I fit? But like, instead you're just like, I'm a beast, no one can beat me, look, I'm also now good at physical and mental, you can't beat me. Like, it's annoying, and like, I don't get it.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
I'm gonna give my thoughts about this when we get to that point, but
yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're just so charged up about the battle match.
As you should. We keep it 100 here at Solid Sequester. You gotta say what you gotta say. But when we get to that point, I'll put my 2 cents in as well. But just to get out of this challenge real quick, because it kind of like was cut dry after that. Like when they all decided just to say Rachel's name. Basically Marcelo felt like no one's actively targeting me. I don't really care what happens this round. So while everyone else is scrambling downstairs to get into the majority, he's upstairs searching for a LOS, which is very funny that people are still searching for LOSs at this point, because you're not going to find them. But that's what he was doing.
Yeah.
You got Brent, who tells Jacob that the name is Josh, and then Brent's name was the decoy, but then now Jacob's like, oh shoot, so did Muna lie to me? And now he has to go reconfirm over there, and now all these people they're like, no, the plan is still the plan. And then you go over here where Josh and Spencer at the end of the round are talking, and Josh doesn't, like, he's in the majority, but he's like, I'm not going to tell him that. So he just basically fills a bunch of dead air with just talk about the last round, and Spencer and him were like, oh yeah, we got to work together. And he was like, okay, cool. Like, I don't need to tell you what the name is. Awesome. So that's how the round ended.
Double check with your right? Like, if someone's like spending all this time, in hindsight 2020, but like, to me, if someone's spending all this time like being like, we're good, I would 100% be like, oh, let's keep talking, but like, then it's still you, right? Or yeah, it's still, because Josh was the first name, so it's still you, right? Like, that we're voting on. At least get him to lie to you, because Josh is amazing, did not lie to him once, so I want to give Josh his credit, but like, at least ask once. Like, it's not gonna hurt you, because that was slick as hell to me.
Yeah, Josh played this round so good, because he was just like, even the Spencer conversation where he's like, I need to do everything I can in order to make sure that he doesn't ask me who I'm voting for, and he just had like a random conversation with him, and it was just like, wow, smart. You know what I mean? But like, if I was Spencer, I'd be like, okay, cut the crap. Are we still voting for you? Like, I'd be like, okay, cool. Are we voting for you?
Yeah, agreed.
So the challenge ends, and we get to the votes, and like we said, the majority decided, and I'll put the votes on the screen, that the votes was for Rachel. Billy, Brendan, Jacob, Shireen, Muna, Natalie, Rachel, and Josh all voted correctly, while the people left in the dust were Brent, Marcelo, and Spencer. Marcelo knowing he would be left in the dust, but he did not care, but Brent and Spencer being very blindsided.
Yeah.
So basically, they know what the vibe is. Brent and Spencer are pissed They are pissed. And a lot of damage control is needed because basically Spencer stands up in front of the house. And well, I'll talk about it, but he stands in front of the house and basically says, if you were in that first room where we decided on the vote to being Josh, one of you are coming with me. Now, I feel like, and I said this last time, smart idea, wrong execution. Because I feel like he should have handled this like he handled Josh. I mean, well, how Josh handled Brent, where you need to pull these people aside or do this privately. Because if he pulled the specific people that were in that room in one room and was like, if you guys don't vote Brent, I'm pulling one of you. Well, I mean, why would they not vote Brent?
Exactly.
Or just pull them one-on-one. Each one of the one-on-ones like, yeah, I might consider pulling you if you don't vote with me. But when you project it to the entire house, it gives the other side an idea of what you're planning on doing so they can counter your offer with something even juicier. So I don't think he executed that correctly.
And give Brent enough ammo. Like, I think, to me, again, how you neutralize Brent is like by sending him into a tailspin. And like here, Spencer was like going into a tailspin, so it helped Brent kind of be like, well, everyone, this is like the tea, here's what you need to do. So I agree with you 100%. Like, I was definitely like, it was interesting to me because Spencer said he kind of knew, but then his reaction was much wilder than his confessional at least was, which, I mean, I understand. I'm assuming confessional was shot after he won, but it was really interesting because I was like, if you're saying you kind of knew, then like you can't go crazy. And then also folks were like so afraid of him, which I'm still not understanding why people are so afraid of like going into a battle match with him specifically.
Yeah.
I will.
Sorry, go ahead.
And I'll let you go. I do think, although I wouldn't be as afraid of going to battle matches, I think if history plays aside, the last two people who got challenged into the battle match didn't come out.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what sent Billy. I said Billy. That's what sent Katie and Jay West. So if I'm in that moment, maybe I'm like, oh shoot. And I mean, and to be fair, this episode as well, I mean, Moon and Left.
Yeah.
So if in their mindset, they're probably like, dang, like all these people who we perceive to be like these big threats are just getting pulled and then they don't come out. So it's like, all right, I need to play scared. And it's like, and we talked about this. I feel like I like this twist of the vote reveal, and we'll get to it later, but I like it because it's entertaining, but as a game player, it kind of stifles gameplay a little bit, and it kind of forces players to play a little bit more scared and not target the challenge beast, because if they go in, then they have a high chance of not coming out.
Yeah, I don't think it's super highly entertaining, though, at the same time, because it's like, oh, here we go again, people throwing their votes, like, I just want people to play, like, I want people to go off, like,
yeah.
So, like, Spencer so I, like, those are always fun when they do, like, we're going to reveal the votes, and it's like, oh, snap, but I like it better when you don't know it's going to happen. Like, I like it better when it's like, oh, we're going to reveal it now, and it's like, yes.
Yeah.
Let's do that, not, oh, this is coming again, so, like, okay, Billy's going to throw their vote again, and then so is Brendan. Like, here we go. People are just throwing votes again, like, instead of, going at a big player because they can anonymously. At the same time, with the whole, like, why are people afraid of Spencer? I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because he's just, like, this boisterous person who's like, I'm going to come at you, whatever. At the same time, I think there's a few players, like the Women Alliance, it's not afraid. I don't think they're afraid of him whatsoever.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? They're not afraid of him whatsoever. And that's why I think motivated him to make his pick, because he's like, these people aren't afraid of me. So, you know what? I need to get rid of people who are afraid of me and who are going to come at me, which is, one of these people, right? Yeah. So, that's what it is. Like, the rest of the guys are like, oh no, I'm not touching this.
Which is so to me, it's flipped in my mind, which I love and I live for. And this is exactly why, we're so thankful for casting and how like real diversity comes up. But because if it was like a normal thing, you know, where like it's almost like what happens in Big Brother, the straight white man wins everything, blah, blah, blah. But like to me, these women are amazing, and they're like, no, like Sequester. This is Sequester. It's not any other game where like if we really have to go against you, fine. And I'm team good TV. That's why I'm always here for these crazy twists. But I agree, Chanel, that I wish that there was some way that we could throw in or like keep changing how the votes are revealed at least like a few times, because it's getting like Billy's situation especially was like a little like meh.
Yeah, it could really screw up your gameplay too, because if it's like, you know, I don't know how it's going to go next week, but if it's like, if someone like Billy throws their vote again, it's like, will we ever actually get someone's vote? Like, Can I trust you to actually throw a vote on someone that I need you to this time? Same thing with like Brendan. Are you actually going to put a vote on someone that we need to put you on a vote for? Or are you just going to throw a vote so that you look good? Like, I feel like people are just going to catch on to this happening every single time. You know?
I mean, I feel like they did catch on, right?
Yeah,
and that's why Natalie was so mad, because she was like, I know what you all did, and I know what you all tried to do, and that's why I'm like irritated, because I'm not an easy vote like as you think I am. But I, for like 0.001 second, I was like, wait, is Marcella going home? Because you know we got Billy the throne vote thing, which would have been hilarious and frustrating, because you're like, stop throwing your votes. But like to me, it's like if Marcella went home, like I think Marcella's hilarious, but like I don't know that, like I'd rather him go than Muna, that's for sure. Yeah. So it was so that was another piece that kept coming up for me, where I was like, who's scared of Spencer? Like, is it the edit or is it the actual people? Like, that's where I was going back and forth.
Totally.
So right after all of that whole blow up, whatever, you got Billy, Shireen, and Rachel. They pull Marcelo aside and they're like, you're not going anywhere. I don't know, we're sorry, leave me out. And it was kind of interesting. I've been saying this during the tier list. Like, I think Marcelo is playing an okay game. You know, it's like he's right now, nobody really wants to actively target him, even though they know like what he's about. And like, I think people felt really bad for leaving him out of this, and he didn't care. I mean, he knew what was going on. He was like, I'm looking for LS, but he used this as like, oh, this is the sympathy. This is the IOU. You can't vote me out now because you did this to me. And I think people want to work with him almost. He's starting to do his own thing. Like we saw him trying to start something with Katie last episode. I think he is trying to do what Jacob is trying to do with Muna. I think Marcelo, although he's still working with Jacob, is trying to start his own little foundation elsewhere, so like he can have the upper hand.
Which is interesting, because he said he is loyal to Jacob in that way. So now I'm wondering if just like his opinion on Shireen changed, like is that going to change as well? I'm interested to find out. I don't know that it will, but I thought it was like, let's see.
Yeah, his game is just like, I keep forgetting he's there.
Yeah.
Which is almost impressive, though. It's almost impressive.
Super, yeah, he's just chilling. Like, I even know that, like,
in the game forget.
Yeah, I think everyone just forgets it, because he was just off looking for LOSs the whole time. And I think people just forgot he was there, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I think he has like a good player in his back pocket with Jacob, because that's like a really strong person to have, and he has relationships. But if Jacob goes, what then? If they're just like, oh yeah, he's here. Well, I don't know why he's here. Like at the same time, you know, people might be trying to get out these big players, and he can just kind of float to the end because he's just chilling there, and like no one thinks of anything of it. And at the same time, this act that he pulled when he got up, and as soon as he was like, had this weird look on his face, it was like, that's real good. You're doing a real good job here. Like, people are sympathetic. They feel bad for you. I knew it was an act right from the beginning, because I think he mentioned it, that he was gonna like act like all this or whatever. And I was like, this is good. Like, people feel sympathetic about you. They think that you're just like this player who's just kind of here and like navigating on their own and like doing their thing. So it's like, his game's just like kind of here right now. Because it's like, no, I'm waiting for the snake moves, Marcelo.
Yeah,
I'm waiting. I want some snaky moves. Like, I'm ready for it, because people are just playing.
I think he's going to do it, but I just think he's going to do it at a later time. Like, I think he's trying to develop. Oh, we have these strong bonds. Yes. Oh, yeah. Now I got to cut you.
Oh, yeah. He's going to snake Jacob so hard, and I'm here for it. I am here for that. Well, no, I don't. I'm not here for but at the same time, I'm here for it.
No, for sure. That's exactly it, right? Where to me, Spencer calling Natalie a floater when he actually should be calling Marcelo a floater.
Yeah.
Again,
my goodness, yes.
Nothing's wrong with being a floater. Like, to me, he's positioned so well. I can see how a path for him to win if he has a good resume with blah blah blah, here's how I floated well. But it's really interesting how, again, people are calling Natalie out, they're calling Rachel out, but you're not calling, again, Marcelo out for playing even more of a floater game than both of them, because I think both of them are playing pretty hard now. I can confidently say that. So it's another really interesting moment, I think.
I agree. So we get another conversation with Muna and Brent, and Muna is trying to cater to the pissed off Brent because he got lied to. And I mean, I would be pissed off too, trust me. So I mean, I don't hate him for it. Brent doesn't believe anything she's saying. He doesn't care. And Muna was actually saying that Brent was her initial target. And I mean, I don't blame her either. I mean, Brent, for the past 2 rounds, has been throwing Muna's name out there.
Yeah.
And she knows that. She knows it now. I don't know if Brent knows that she knows this stuff, but they're both slow, low key. They're both going at each other just without the fighting. And she said that Brent was being shady, but he says, which is interesting, that if he lost, he would have also pulled Muna in. I don't blame him, because I mean, if you're gonna put this energy out there that you're targeting someone, and it doesn't really need to be for a good reason, honestly. And like I said, I'll talk about this with Spencer because I have 2 cents on that as well. When you're targeting someone and you're actively for rounds telling people this, and this is Sequester, it's a small house, so
yeah,
I would hope he at least imagine that she at least has an idea. So it's if you're going to do this, it's no hard feelings, but I got to run with it, or else I'm gonna look like a crazy person, So I think that was his mindset.
I agree with 99% of what you're saying. I'm also wondering, because of what Brent said about him being good TV, I think Brent might be smart enough to know that it's really bad TV for him to pick Muna. And will that blow back? So to me, I can see him picking Rachel because he said that's who Spencer would pick, but I didn't really hear Spencer say that too much. So I don't know if that was in Brent's head, that's someone he would pick, because I don't know that Brent wants that smoke for many levels. That's something going off of the TV ratings.
He's aware.
Yeah, so that's why I don't know that he would. I agree with you that if you're gonna say his name, you should pick him. Period. 100%. Pick them, whoever's name you're saying. But I think that because he's so aware of the optics, I don't know that he would have. I don't know. I don't know that.
I agree. Yeah, I think that he's more aware in comparison to some other individuals.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah,
exactly.
100%.
So Brendan and Billy, seconds later, they're explaining to Spencer, who's just went on his whole little tangent about pulling people on the bottom. They're like, oh shoot, I was in that room, right? So basically they try to explain it, and Spencer was like, at this point, I don't care. What's the plan? And they said, we need to go for Brent. And he's like, okay, cool. As long as it's not me, at that point, he's just, I think anyone would be like this. As long as it's not me, fine. Brendan pulls Spencer aside and tries to make a final 2. And Brendan doesn't really care about it, but he'll take as many deals as he wants to. And now I think this was the right move here, but I feel when it comes down to the wire later rounds, if he keeps just because he does this a lot. If you keep like making deals willy-nilly and just like offering them, eventually you're going to be considered someone's ride or die to a point where they're going to expect you to have their back no matter what. And then if you betray them, like this isn't a good formula to cater to jury votes.
Yeah.
When you burn too many bridges.
And that's almost like for even a Jacob, right? Like, I think, I don't know that it helped him that Muna left because, you know, like how he was talking about last episode, again, like I have too many people. I don't mind if one person leaving. Like he almost needed a tier 2 of his like final 2, whatever. As Brendan said, there isn't a final 2, it's final 4. But you know, like it's like, I don't know that would help him, but yeah, I agree with you that I think it's not the worst thing even for Jacob. And I'm wondering even a Marcelo actually, that like if Muna left, because of what you said. And I think, but I'm just wondering, will Muna, I don't know if Muna would be bitter. I think if she doesn't come back in the battle match, or battle back, sorry. But yeah, I also find that interesting because it isn't just like there's a few people that it's almost like that web that Sequester stats like made for us. So I want to see the web of like if Muna leaves, like who does that help, who does it not help.
Yeah, I feel like she's really interconnected with a lot of people. I feel like she was like a shield for a lot of people because she was like this like big target for a while. So now it's like exposure. Yeah, with Jacob, like his like ride or die is like Marcelo, and Marcelo's kind of just playing low key right now at the moment. And now his biggest shield, who he was aligned with, is gone. So like I feel like he's the bigger shield now. So like maybe he's being exposed a little bit. And I don't know how Spencer's going to be when he comes back, because Spencer might be mad at him for, you know, not telling him in the other round or protecting him or whatever. So we don't really know how it's going to unfold. And at the same time, people might be starting to get brave because they're seeing these big players just being eliminated one after one, you know, so maybe they'll be like, oh, we can make moves now because they seem to just be going. So like, you know, I had mentioned this before, but, you know, just want to bring it up again. Like, I feel like Jacob might start getting into trouble now. Because people might be getting brave, especially Josh, who has an LOS sitting in his pocket, you know, might say, you know what, Brent, I got this thing. I think we can make a big move here, you know? So who knows? I know Josh isn't in the chat today, but like, yeah, I just want to know, like, Josh, like, what was this play? Because again, I feel like we've been like about him the whole time, but like I don't know why he felt, or maybe it is that like you just don't want to be so close to the fire and everyone's kind of coming for Brent, and like he was just like, let me jump ship, like it's not worth it. Like maybe it's just as simple as that, but I really want to know because again, like I'm not sure what happened here with Josh especially. But honestly, for next week, I don't know what happened either. I think for next week, like, I still think they're gonna probably target Spencer because, like, I feel like everyone's gonna be really mad at him for like how he's acting. At this point, I think people are just fed up with this whole like, I'm gonna beat you and whatever attitude. It's like it's like a drag race thing, right? When they're like, I will do a lip sync every single day because I will win it and blah, blah, blah. I don't know why I'm bringing drag race into it just because I'm obsessed with drag race. But it's like, he's like, you can drag me down because I will beat you in every single battle. But you don't know what the battle back is going to be. You have it was a puzzle this week. It was like beer pong last week or whatever. But it was a puzzle the week. You have no idea what it's going to be.
Could you lie?
Shireen wants smoke.
Yeah.
So,
could you lie about the battle match? Because if I was
sure they know. I'm sure they know.
Oh, you think they know? Okay.
Or maybe they lie. Maybe they could lie. I don't see why not.
Yeah, because I think if I were Spencer, I'd be like, I told you it'd be you know, like a physical game, and guess what? It was. But then also I could see him being like, but I'm a mental beast as well.
How smart I am as well. Like I would use that to my advantage. Like, oh, well, it didn't even have to be a physical comp. It was a puzzle and I kicked butt.
And I picked like the smartest players, but in this house. So like, who wants this? So like, again,
Yeah.
I really do think that the all women's alliance is not gonna like fall for it. I don't think so. I think Shireen especially is like really smart. In like, and her game IQ is really high. So I just want to know how it's gonna play out. I agree with you. I think he's still gonna be a target. I just want to know, will he get voted out again? Like, to me, it's like almost the men had to like be coaxed into doing this.
Yeah, totally.
It's so weird.
So Muna, after the conversation with Brent, tells Jacob that she's scared that Brent's going to put her in. So what Jacob does, it's a little interesting strategy here. I do think it backfired a little bit, but I mean, we'll get into that later. But basically, he says that he's going to tell Spencer that he should target Brent, and he's going to tell Brent that he should target Spencer, because that's the best possible way that the other is going to stay. Like, that's where the numbers are, basically. Yeah. But his idea is, in these conversations, he's going to let both of them know that he doesn't know which way he's leaning, and he's just like very like. I don't like that portion, because at the end of the day, it just looks like you're just giving information and then you're just trying to play both sides at that point, because it's like, yeah, you're somewhat helping me, but like you're just kind of worrying about yourself at this point, and you're not worried about my best interest. So I mean, that's the fault in this strategy, in my opinion. But he thinks that if he does this, then there'll be that they won't mind if they call his vote, and then he actually voted one of them, and they're just going to be like, oh, well, you already told me that you were half and half, so you're not going to pull me in. And it's like, yeah, he didn't get pulled in, but I still, like, they're still going to be irritated with you.
Yeah.
Like, like, it's like, you're giving me all this information. I'm assuming that you're going to vote with me, but you're not. So it's like, what, are you playing me? So it was an iffy strategy over there.
Yeah, I think he also counted on it not getting back to them so quickly, at least what he was doing, which, if I'm being honest, I was surprised that it actually got back to Brent, because I did not realize him and Shireen were even close, in any way, at least from what we have seen until now. But and it makes sense why they maybe were close. But yeah, I think that was so interesting, because I wonder if Shireen wouldn't have told on Jacob, like would it have worked a little better? Like, I agree that I don't know that it would have worked well, but like better, because at the end of the day, he didn't get called in, and like that's it.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, like, what Spencer's thinking was it around it, but I feel like his thinking is, I might drag in someone who I know 100% won't work with me.
Yeah.
Rather than someone who has an inkling of maybe working with me, which I need in the end. And someone in the chat just like brought up a good point with the whole Brent argument.
Oh, yeah.
Of the ratings versus the general neutral thing. And I'm like, yes, the gender, when Brent brought that up, that was really smart, because it made people, I think, more votes went Spencer's way once they realized, like, oh, I could actually beat him in something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. That's exactly it. And yeah, I didn't know if we were there yet, but oh my God, that was genius, because, and this is where, again, his knowledge of the game helped, Brent's knowledge of the game helped him, because, and that, I think that's what most people would say, like, these challenges aren't like, they're not, this is not Big Brother, like Brent said, it's not Survivor, get it together. But the rating things, like, why would you say that? I wasn't feeling it. Like, I just wasn't. Like, I don't know why he said it.
Yeah.
So there was another conversation, actually, just to speed this up. This is where things started to get a little hot and a little bit more aggressive from Brent and Spencer. Because first, Spencer and Josh are both talking, and basically Josh is like, I'll vote with you, Spencer. Call me out so I can prove myself to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that was his pitch. But then Josh told Spencer to call him. I mean, after Josh and Spencer spoke, Brent basically calls out the house because he walked in on the conversation, and he's basically like, yeah, you're gonna need to vote Spencer, because if I'm not, if you're not gonna battle him now, someone's gonna have to battle him later.
Yep.
And obviously, like, he's the tallest and the most physical in the house, so like the longer you wait, like the harder it's going to get. And I mean that logic does make a little sense.
Yeah.
And Spencer says, well, if you vote me, you're making a huge mistake, because if you pick me and I was in that first room with you, then I'm pulling one of you. Now, like I said, I think if you do the threat strategy, I don't have an issue with it if you do it correctly. But when you're telling everybody around that, like, oh, he's only picking through these 7 people and I wasn't in the room, why do I care? Like, I'm not going to vote with you then. Like, you're going to be focused on these people who did you dirty.
Yeah, that's why the Josh vote was so confusing. I'm like, oh no, he was there. He was there. Sorry.
Yeah, he was
there. Yes. I was like, why is he? But he was there. So he's playing scared, like most people are with these votes right now. But yeah, totally. I totally see why Josh voted that way now.
Yeah, I understand it. I'm just like, what the? I think LOS also gives him a little bit of like recklessness.
Yeah, he could have totally flipped that vote. At the same time, I guess he didn't need to. He's kind of just under the radar this week.
Exactly.
So Brent tries to convince Brendan and Rachel to keep him because he's good for ratings. And Shireen was trying to back him, but Rachel's just like, why do I care? Like, I'm here for myself,
Yeah.
Whatever, like, let production worry about that. But he tried to use the clout argument, and I mean, I get it, but it's like, these people are here for themselves. This is a self-interested game. Not a lot of people like that, but I mean, it's whatever.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, it's not the especially I think Big Brother, this is a big thing, right? Where like folks really do care about their image and how they look and followers and brand deals and wanting to become influencers. I mean, you're playing Sequester because you love the game, not because like you want to gain this like massive following and quit your day job, right? Like that's just not it.
Is it?
Right. Sorry. If that's, no, I think Sequester is amazing because like it's for the fans, right? By the fans. And that's where and I agreed with Rachel, where Rachel was like, what are we, chop liver? Like, you can't just say that, like, we're all here, we're all giving, our best. So to me, like, I understand it, but I think that's something you say in the confessional, because I think it would make good TV. And as I said, I'm team good TV. Like, every time Brent's in the confessional, he's wild and we love it. But like, I don't, yeah, to me, like, I think I would be offended if he said that to me, because I was like, cool, you're better than me. Like, I need to get you out so I can shine then, because I'm just as good as you. You just,
and that's the only thing.
Yeah.
Like especially coming from like a Big Brother podcaster where, and I love Big Brother, I'm a super fan, but it's like the big thing that we talk about is we don't want like these social media influencers, all that stuff. So I just like that argument. I mean, I feel like in the moment he was just trying to find something, to be fair, just trying to find something to keep himself there. So I'll give him, the benefit of doubt, but I've never been a fan of the whole social media influencer, like, oh, like, I'm good for ratings, Like, I'm like, I don't care. What does that have to do with me, Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Totally.
So we get a little bit from Shireen, and we spoke about it earlier, so I'm not going to go too deep into it, but her and Marcelo, basically, they're good now, they're working together. Marcelo is basically like, wait, I actually like Shireen. Shireen's social game has been very good this season, by the way.
Very good.
But they're working together now. And Shireen and Brendan, like, they're 100% with each other. Shireen's like, I'm going to vote Spencer, and Brendan's like, I'm going to vote Brent. And it's like, I don't really care. We're good either way. Neither one of them really trust each other, but I mean, they exchange this information. But the mistake Shireen makes here is that she lets Brendan know that she's going to be targeting the athletic guys and not including him. Yeah. And obviously he's like, well, you're going to target me eventually, so I'm coming after you now if I have the opportunity.
That's another thing. You have to pick your words, especially with someone like Brendan, so carefully, because you maybe it's like unconscious. I don't know that Shireen's doing it on purpose, but like people like this are they're smarter than, right, they're giving off the surfer dude whatever vibe. Like Brendan is playing this game really well. Like, you know, he's making all the right moves, saying all the right things in confessionals as well. And that's why, to me, he's so good about picking up nuances like that. Like, he is so good at it, where I think Shireen just like said one line, where, right, all she said was, you know, I don't put the two of you together. And then Brendan was like, I wasn't even thinking about that in this way. Like, I was thinking about it as he's just another big player and I'm not like him. You like me. But that immediately, I think put a light bulb, right, went off for him, and to be like, oh, okay, got it. This is why. So I appreciated that. And, you know, again, like, props to Brendan for catching it.
Yeah, he's just, like you said, like, just much smarter than he puts on. Like, his game is really good just because he's paying attention to everything that's going on. He's figuring out where the fires are, like what move, like it's like chess, right? You have to think like a few moves ahead. Yeah. So he has to think, okay, if Spencer goes down, like if he comes back, like how do I make sure like that I'm good if he comes back? Even if he doesn't come back, how am I still good with the other people in the house? Without them like thinking that I'm shady or whatever, because no one thinks he's shady. He's in those big groups. Yeah, he does have the long-term edit. Like he has this like I'm good with everyone kind of vibe going on right now because, you know, Shireen thinks he's good because he's giving off these chill vibes. Mm-hmm. Like everyone else thinks he's good because they can see his wheels spinning and him working strategically, but to make it look like it's in favor for them by being like, I got you, like, what do you need? Like, yeah. And getting in those big conversations as well, right? So it's just absolutely, it's very fascinating to watch him go and no one even talking about him whatsoever. They're so busy focusing on the Brents and the Spencers and the Munas and sometimes even the Jacobs, that they're not focusing on this like low-key player happening right now or this low-key strategy going on right now.
So this is where it gets a little ugly. Nobody's gonna like this on Twitter. Nobody's gonna like this at all. I was sad by it, but I mean it happens, you know, it happens. But I mean it was an ugly moment. This is when Spencer and Muna have a disagreement because that basically Spencer feels like his bond with Muna is like a lost cause. There's no real reason to escalate too much on it. So they start arguing, and he doesn't want to work with her because he feels like he screwed her 3 times. And Muna didn't like him yelling at her, so now she's targeting him as well. In my mind, and this is where I wanted to talk about it, I feel like it's unfortunate because I think Muna's archetype as a person, like the type of person she is, like she's extremely real. Like she's a real person. In games like Sequester, Big Brother Survivor, it's almost like encouraged to be like this fake kind of person. Yes. So when the social games like a Jacobs or even like in you go to like Big Brother, like a Dan Giesen, whatever, usually you need to like lie to people in like not being honest, you know, like it could have been easy for her to be like, oh yeah, like I'm voting with you, or like the last round, oh yeah, like I'm gonna vote Natalie with you or whatever, you know. But that's just not who she is. She's a very honest person naturally. So it naturally, and you can even see in other shows, it's hard for honest people to make it super far in the games being the way they are because no one likes to hear the truth ever. So when you hear something you don't like, they're going to feel betrayed even though they kept it 100 with you, versus like someone else like a Jacob who didn't keep it 100 with you, but they catered to what you liked hearing. So that's the way you're going to go. We saw this last week where Katie kept it 100 and was like, yeah, I'm not voting with you, where then you got Billy who was like, yeah, I'm going to vote with you. She lied, but like she didn't get pulled in. So it's really hard for honest people, I think, to play these games. But regardless, I don't think that it was handled correctly. On Spencer's side, I don't think she really did anything that garnered the type of reaction she got. I mean, it's a game at the end of the day, so it's like not everyone's going to be able to work with everyone. There's only one winner at the end of the day. So if you didn't want to work with her, I feel like there was a more respectful way to go about it, or just like strictly just been like, yeah, like I don't think this is going to work out, and she'd be like, okay, cool. But like I think the yelling was really that was like an uncalled for moment here, and it's unfortunate it happened the way it did.
It got personal. It got fully personal here and super ugly, and it was very painful to watch this go down, because this happens all the time. And hold on, I'm just gonna go off of this for a second. That's off gameplay.
Yeah,
this whole like, oh, I'm the strong male, and a woman is standing up to me and basically saying, no, I'm not going to go with this. And he didn't like it. And that's what's happening with Muna. Muna stood up and she said, honestly, it's not beneficial for me to work with you, whatever she said. But she wasn't even given a chance to like talk, explain. It was just dismissed like, whatever, you should be listening to what I'm saying. That was the first time, right? And him saying, oh, you fooled me. She hasn't fooled you. She straight up has told you, I don't want to work with you, basically. And why should she? It's not good for her game to work with you. You're not a player that people want to work with whatsoever. They're just working with you to get where they need to be at this point, or to keep you off of them, because you're a bit of a threat. Yes, that's true. You're a big physical threat. So it was really uncalled for. I don't understand why he's going for Muna. I think it makes him look really bad that he's going after a woman, to be honest, because it's like, if you're this big person who's this physical threat and could take out anyone, you could totally bring a man in and be like, look, I just took a man out. So why do you got to take this woman out? Because she's not the big player that's in your way, I don't think. But like, maybe she is, because she's amazing. But at the same time, like, if you're such a big man and you can take out anyone, you could have dragged a guy in just as easily. You could have dragged in Jacob.
Yeah, to me, that's the biggest thing, because first of all, I think we also have to recognize implicit biases play a huge deal
100%.
in who you like think you're going to align with, because basically him and Brent like kind of cleared each other and we're like, great, we're cool, like we're in this shitty situation, like whatever, okay, great, let's move on, you can talk about me, it's fine. But it's not fine. Like, how is talking about Brent talking about him and him talking about Brent okay, but then this like implicit bias of like, I just don't connect with you for multitude of reasons, and like immediately you're like, any strong woman, and like, listen, like I have felt this in my personal life too, where like when you are a strong woman, you're a woman of color, like people just look at you different. It's just the truth. And you have to fight twice as hard to be half as likable. That's just the truth. And I think that's exactly where Muna doesn't need to, like kiss his ass, because guess what? You're at the bottom, Muna isn't. So you don't get to like attack Muna and come for her. If anything, you should have worked harder to like build something with her. And if she's not willing to work with you, move on. Just say like how Josh did, right? Which we said before, how Josh specifically said, hey, Brent, like we're cool, but like I get it. You're gonna vote for me. I'm dragging you. Fine, like leave it at that. But like screaming at her and like using your physical size to like intimidate, it's not it. And there's absolutely no reason for it, especially when a 2-time Sequester winner is right there lying to you, doing all kinds of dirty work. And then you're not like, you know what I mean? Like, and you're still not like letting it be. That's why that's where the problem is, because I think folks will say like, oh, well, if Muna's such a strong player, what does it matter? Equality, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, it's not equality, because we know he only picked her, or he would have picked Rachel, and only those two people, because he thinks he could have beat them. And it's like BS if you think otherwise, because he's not like, it's just there's so much unconscious biases that like, as people of color, we know and we can suss out pretty quickly if we're in the room with someone. And I bet you Muna probably knew and, felt some of that. That's why she didn't want to probably even try to work with him.
Yeah, I agree. Exactly. So we got through that. We're almost at the end of this challenge. Let's speed through it real quick. Jacob tells Spencer that he feels like people are swaying his way, and Spencer doesn't like that. And he's like, Jacob's like, listen, bro, like, if you don't got the votes, I gotta vote you. But like, he didn't say that, but like, he was inferring that. And Spencer didn't like that. He's like, this doesn't make any sense. Then like, why are you telling me all this information of da 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 da? He's like, in the confessional, he's like, these are the 6 votes I should have. He's like, I should have Brendan, I should have Billy, I should have Jacob, Natalie, Josh, and then there's myself. So that should be a solid 6. If I get voted in, then I know which people to be questioning for their vote, so I can pick one of them to go in. Shireen tells Brent that Jacob's voting him, but she does this because Brent leaves. Because if Brent leaves, then she thinks that he's picking a male instead of a female. That could be further from the truth because he said he wanted to pick Muna, but I mean that's what Shireen's train of thought is.
Yeah.
We see Billy, who wants to throw her vote away to Marcelo because he's not leaving, and she was threatened by Brent and Spencer both that she was going to be battled. And it's funny because neither one of them was going to pull her, but I can see why she feels the way she does. He doesn't want this. Nobody likes this, obviously. But what he does is he uses this as an insurance policy. So he basically has an IOU in the future round. So if he needs her for something, then he's going to bring this up. Now, this is a good move on Marcelo because I think he really doesn't like he's been really playing up this victim strategy almost this round, and I think he did it to a T. And now he has a lot of favors. Now Rachel owes him a favor, Shireen owes him a favor, Billy owes him a favor. A lot of people owe this guy favors now. Shireen, I don't think I said Shireen. Oh no, Billy.
Yeah,
I don't think Billy did this correctly. Because this is the second time where she almost has like a near perfect like round, and then she ends it wrong. Like now she owes Natalie an IOU. Now she owes Marcelo an IOU. I don't think she handled that correctly.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Like she could have just like totally like swung under the radar with that one. Like I think she could have just voted for Brent because like what does she owe Brent?
Yeah, that's what I didn't understand because so in the first room at the start of the round, Brent actually said, I think Billy likes me. And I made a note saying like, does she? What? So maybe there is some truth to it. Like, I don't think so, but like maybe there is something going on that we don't know because I agree. I don't know why she needed to burn social capital there, or maybe she doesn't realize she burned social capital. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I don't even think it's a like Brent thing. I think she just like knowing Billy, she probably just is like being Billy, which is like she doesn't fully like show if she likes you or not. She's just like real with you. So it's like I think she's with a lot of people that Brent talks to, it's like she's not one of the people that if she threw a vote on him, like he'd be mad about.
Yeah.
Why would he drag Billy? So I think he could have just thrown it on Brent. And I don't think she would owe Brent anything. Like I don't think Brent would even care, because Josh just didn't. I don't think he's gonna do anything to Josh, even though they're like allies or whatever. So,
yeah, I agree.
So yeah, like I'm like, come on, Billy, like so close.
So Brent basically begs Natalie for her vote, and she feels bad. She's and the main reason, and this was a very good move from Brent actually, that he tells her that she voted with her last round, and that Spencer voted against her. He completely lied and acknowledged it, but she fell for it and she believes it. So now she feels like she owes something to Brent. Very good move from Brent. Jacob tells Brendan that he's going to vote Spencer. Brendan agrees. And then Rachel doesn't like how Brent is bossing people around, but plans on keeping him because he's not targeting her. Lastly, we close out this round with Brent bringing 6 people together last second to ask for their votes. And that consists of Muna, Shireen, Natalie, Josh, and Marcelo. And then obviously with himself, that'd be 6. He tells them that if they all vote Spencer, and if he gets voted out, he's going to pull Rachel. Brent's like, I don't know if he's going to pull Rachel, but I'm not going to tell them that. I'm just going to feed them something.
Yeah.
So that's how they close out that round.
And that's another thing. Even at this point, does Brent realize, right? Like there's a all girl alliance here, because to me, like I don't think he does. Spoiler alert. But the only reason I say that is because it's almost double smart, because you're telling all of her alliance that, hey, she's gonna get picked, so don't let her get picked. And you know, that almost also pushes the train a little bit forward as well.
Yeah, totally. What a big mess.
Gender neutral competitions. Oh, that was the best.
Honestly, like, I loved it. It's fine.
No, that was perfect. I think that is exactly what he needed to say. And he's like, come on, people, get it together.
Yeah, like, because usually when Brent... Yeah, no, honestly, because Brent was always very right about everything he's ever said the whole time. And finally, after he has Spencer screaming at people about how he's going to take them in, he's just like, oh, by the way, the competitions are gender neutral, so like ignore this. He's like, it's not me. I'm not the one going off this episode. Like, I mean, I'm still loud, but at the same time, what I'm saying makes total sense. So like,
yeah,
it's my time. So like, right this episode, I was like, good on you. You really pulled it
exactly.
Off
the numbers thing and the gender neutral, those two things is all he needed to say. And listen, he like I said, Rachel did not vote for him. Like, that is the craziest thing ever.
Yeah, but I think it's because they're threatened here. Like,
for sure.
They don't like it. So
no, but we love it.
Brent's a loose cannon for sure. And it's even crazy because if you think about it, not only did he get Natalie's vote, he finessed all these people. He's actually in the sense the one who really ignited this Spencer and Muna thing this round, because they were like on okay terms at the beginning, and then once he whispers here, whispers there, they're both going after each other again, you know. So I was like, I'm like, okay, Brent.
I think Spencer had Muna's card. Like, I think he had known, like, she did me wrong in this round and this round and that, whatever. So I think like he was, so I think it was almost he needed that last push to go over the edge. So I agree. Mm-hmm.
It's just super irritating because it was so uncalled for.
Jacob. Anyway,
let me move on.
So we get to the votes, and basically the votes over here on the screen, it is Spencer, who got votes from Shireen, Natalie, Rachel, Jacob, Marcelo, Brent, and Muna. We got Brent, who got votes from Spencer, Josh, and Brendan. And lastly, we got Marcelo, who just got 1 vote from Billy. Now, obviously they didn't know this. They just found out that Spencer got voted out, and he, like he said earlier, had the 6 people who he thought he had votes from. So he already points out first of all, he calls everybody a weak player, and he's pissed. He says he's coming back into the game regardless of what he does, and he's just fired up. He reveals Josh's vote. Josh says quickly, I told you I was voting with you. I voted Brent. I don't know how Brent's actually going to feel about that, because
I'm interested to see how that unfolds. At the same time, this whole weak player argument is kind of irritating to me, because are you a weak player if you're trying to take out a strong player?
Yeah, I agree. To me, like, going after Natalie is the weak move.
Yeah, or Josh.
Josh, even right before we knew about anything about Josh. But like, I'm so confused because pick one, right? It's either you're this what did he say? I am the most physical. I like made a note of what he said, and then I can't remember anymore. Oh, I'm the most physically fit person in this house. So then how is that a weak move, right? Like, getting him out. And I see like Joseph in the chat saying like third weakest move. I don't know. I don't agree, because the only because he's a big player. Everyone's allegedly like thinks he's a competition threat. And the women are pretty like clocking it and like trying to get him out because he's disrespectful. So I don't. Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's a weak move at all. I think like the only weak move is that he doesn't have any alliance members, like what I mean. But like to me, that's the only weak piece of it, because allegedly he can beat everyone in a battle match. So
at the same time, like if you're calling everyone weak players, like I don't see you going after like a big player, right? Like when with that whole move, like are you trying to get up Jacob, who's a big player? I mean, he did get out Muna in this instance and get out Muna, who's technically a big player, but at the same time, it's not, you're basically saying you're a strong player. So so why wouldn't they want to get you out?
I kind of have like an issue where I think in the house narrative is the only way you can be classified as a big player is by your social game.
Yeah.
When there's actually the strategic element of the game, and then there's also the physical element of the game. And like he said, he is quote unquote the most physical apt player there. So that's a big threat. That like you're a big threat as well in that case. Like in coming into next week, you're going to be even bigger threat, because not only is this laying a message, but it's also now you want smoke. So it's like there's more than just social players, because obviously judging by the Jay West, judging by the Katie, your social game isn't everything in this game, because they're in the jury right now. Like Jay West was somewhat the strategist, not the best one, but that was his thing. He's in there. Katie was the social player to a degree. She's in there. And then now you got Muna, who was a huge social player, and she's in there now. So it's really, people have to like open their eyes and look that there's a lot more than just social capital in this game. There's a lot of factors. That's not even putting the scrappiness of someone who has an LOS possibly.
Yeah. I still don't think Spencer is even he's not like the big buff guy. You know what I mean? Like,
no.
I keep forgetting his name in season 2, who was paired with Hamza, that guy. Jesse, yeah. So to me, like a Jesse, right, would be a physical threat. But like you're just you're tall, you're you're a man, and then you happen to be white, right? Which is like in any other reality show, the recipe for winning, but like not in this one. Granted, he won, so I won't like knock that piece too much. But yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. I just don't know that I don't know that Spencer fits the bill for that. Like, I was like, you're just tall.
Especially these comps, because the last 3 comps have had nothing to do with any of that, and I don't think that's going to change either.
No, and that's what's like great about Sequester. Like, I just can't remember there being like a super physical comp. Yeah.
The only one I could think of is last season when they did the bungee jump, bungee cord thing, when they had to run.
Oh, yes. But that was like a fair thing, so it was still a little different.
Yeah, I think Brand PR said it best. This is a Survivor,
Exactly.
So yeah, I co-sign that. So after he reveals Josh's vote, he reveals Billy's vote, which says Marcelo. Like I said, Josh and Billy doing this in the moment is smart, because they're not going to get pulled in. But later down the road, they're going to. Well, Billy already got the okay from Marcelo, so maybe that's okay. But people are going to see that she's very self-interested versus being a group player. And then I think people are going to look at Josh and be like, "Dang, like that was kind of a weak move," But it was Jacob saying that he voted Spencer, which was the interesting portion, because I don't think he really had like an explanation there. But Spencer still decided to vote Muna. Was Muna in the big group originally? I totally forget.
She was.
Okay. He voted Muna, and he felt like he was screwed and everything, and he started yelling. But Muna was like, "Nah, clapping back. And she basically says she's not gonna allow a male to yell at her and all that stuff, which as she should.
As she should.
And she throws Jacob under the bus, which I thought was very interesting.
As she should.
Obviously. In Jacob saying that Jacob promised Spencer, she basically used the Katie argument from the Josh night.
Yes.
But it just wasn't as successful this time. I wonder if like Shireen or like someone got to Muna and told her that Jacob's been like throwing her name all day.
I feel like she has, because where did that come? Where would that even come from? Like, because like I feel like they were close enough that she wouldn't just like throw Jacob under. Like, I feel like maybe Natalie or Shireen had come to her and been like, "Listen, he's talking about like this vote or whatever," and then it got to her that way. At the same time, I feel like if she had heard that, she's like, well, if I'm going down, I'm dragging you with me, because this game that you're playing right now, people need to know what's up. So I think it was a pretty smart move, especially like if she did lose or if she did win and she came back and then she's like, listen, look at this. Or even if she did lose and then she comes back in a battle back, like at least he's dragged down too, so maybe he won't be there, so
yeah, and that's why
on her own.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I think Muna's such a great player, right? Because she is really able to like on the fly catch it and be like, but he just voted for you and allegedly y'all are cool. And and 2-time Sequester winner, right? Like it's either that yes, she had enough like relationships where they told her ahead of time, or she did it on the fly. Either way, I think like it was amazing. And to me, it was actually better than Katie's argument, because Katie like had a good argument when she was like, why would you pick me? It's like the first time with Josh, where she was like, why would you pick me? La, 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 whatever. Like it's not the best move. And that swayed Josh. But to me, this is definitely the better argument to say, I'm not like, there's a 2-time winner sitting here. So like, why are you even saying any of this?
And he lied to you.
And he lied. And he said all of that. So to me, this is exactly why I think folks are also a little bit more frustrated with Spencer, because the logical thing would be then you pick Jacob. But like, because why would you want to work with this man? I guess he's waiting on Jacob to fool him the third time. Like, Muna, is that it? Like, it's
but
just
she didn't
weird.
fool him.
But I just mean because he said.
No,
that.
I'm just saying, like his argument is invalid.
No, 100% it is.
If you look at like his views before the game, this just makes him look absolutely awful to people watching, and then also just to people in the house, because I think they know what his background is already and some of the stuff that he said. So it's like, this does not look good on you, and kind of proves that, are you actually even willing to work with me? So what's the point of me even giving it to you?
Exactly.
You might just blow up on me if I talk strategy. So who knows?
Yeah, agreed.
Well, we leave this situation. Obviously we leave with Muna versus Spencer going inside the battle match, sorry. And it's a memory card competition. Basically, both people get to set cards where they want, and I think it's pretty fair. And basically you just got to find the matches. Whoever finds all the matches first comes back into the game. Very close battle, but came down to the wire. Spencer wins by I think it was one match. Yeah, it was very close though, and basically it was interesting how this is built up. You got the villain of the season so far, and then you got the fan favorite. To be honest with you, and Muna. So it was a good butt heads. Spencer apologizes, but Muna is still kind of hurt. He didn't
really apologize. First, I would say, he was like, first of all, everyone, if you're apologizing, don't say if I offended you. To be like, I'm seeing that I offended you and I apologize. Start it like that, because Muna's a queen and definitely said all the right things to get his ass, because I hate when folks apologize that way, because like it's not an apology. It's saying sorry. The onus is on the person you've offended, which is like BS.
I agree.
Yeah, I didn't mean to
But
cut
that's
you
how
off.
that.
Sorry.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. You guys are doing great. But that's how that episode ended. Real quickly, we are going to jump into our tier list rankings. Let me get that up. And we're going to do a quick edit. Here it is. So basically, we added Muna to the jury. So I guess we're going to start from S and just work our way down again. So Jacob, this episode, how do you guys feel about Jacob? This episode, I think he did a lot of work to grab some new allies like in Natalie and Rachel sort of, but they don't really trust him that much. You got Muna calling him out. You got Spencer, who I don't know how he's going to interact with Jacob. Like he just voted him, but he's publicly said that he's going to work with him. I think right now only like other than like Marcelo and Brendan and maybe Brent. I don't really know how that's going to go. So how do you guys feel about Jacob? Is he still at S for you guys?
I think he's in high A now.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, we can leave him at an S, but like if we're using the same logic that we have for everyone else, then he needs to come down.
Yeah, he's got to come down. He lost Muna, and he also threw Muna under the bus, which people know about now. Spencer, he's probably tarnished with now because he lied to him, and Natalie doesn't really. Well, Natalie sees right through him, basically.
Yeah, and Rachel too, actually.
Yeah, and and Rachel, and then his other ally Marcelo is just kind of just floating there. So it's like, I think he's just an A right now because still people aren't talking about him, but we'll see next week if people start talking about him after Muna threw him under, right? So.
All right. So how do we feel about Billy? We saw her basically rack up her IOUs this episode. She's still with the All Girls Alliance. We got that confirmation. Her social game's still strong. But people, I don't know how the reaction also with her throwing her vote away is going to go off to the entire house. So how do you guys feel about Billy so far?
I think I'd move her to a B. Like, I think Shireen's playing a better game than
I was going to say, Shireen is definitely playing a better game than Billy right now. And Brendan is definitely playing a better game than Billy, 100%. Like, I was going to say, Brendan should probably be in the second spot of A, definitely higher than Billy at this point. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't know that I think Billy would be an 8, according to at least this, where the trajectory is. Because her floating game is good, but I don't know that. I think it might like bite her a little bit. Yeah. So, like I said, I think she'll probably move up again. But yeah, I think Shireen just had the better moment here too.
Okay. How do we feel about Brendan? So far he's kind of doing the same thing. He's just trying to stay out of the mix, but in the mix at the same time. He's still in the flow of information. I think people are seeing that he's a good player right now, and he's starting to like make something. But you already saw with someone like Shireen where they're like, I don't really trust him though, you know. Or so he's expendable, or he has a bond with like a Spencer or in a Brent in some sort, but like, is it really, like he's okay with throwing anyone to the side. He doesn't really have like a number one yet. So like, are we keeping him in the same place or what?
I think so. I think he's smart. He's really smart.
Yeah, I think he's playing the field well. Because you kind of saw Jacob playing the field a bit, and it was like on the verge of not being so well. But Brandon just seems to be finessing it like super, super well, and he knows where he needs to be. So I think he's good where he is because he's just been playing the same game the whole time, and he's not being called out for it. And I think that's important because he's in the right places. He's always in the big meetings. He's always getting the information, even though he wasn't in any of these big alliances that were made at the beginning. He's somehow always in the mix.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's so smart.
Okay. All right. So next we got Shireen, where she definitely is like every episode she's trying to use her time to make one-on-one connections with people, and it's her list is slowly like growing. She's going good sides with Marcelo, so I think the only person who would even consider like targeting her are I don't know, like what, Muna, like maybe Jacob. Like I don't think Brent, although he threw her name out, is really coming for her at any point. I think Brendan would come for her, and like Spencer, but like other than that, I think especially with the females and Marcelo, like she's good right now.
Yeah, and I think what Brent, she actually saved Brent, or was trying to save Brent, because in the kitchen scene he said to her, hey, can you like get them to not vote for me? So to me, like, so that's why I think that she again is seen as someone pretty high up, and she's from Survivor, right? But so she has that, like, also I keep using that, but social capital. So that's why, yeah, I think she's playing really well. Yeah, I don't know if it's an A, but I'm not sure, but I think it's really good.
Yeah, this one, it's hard because it's like, is Brendan playing better than her?
I think he is.
Yeah, because she has so many. Okay, I feel like they're playing a bit of the same way, but differently, because he's playing I'm playing all sides, I'm in all the meetings, like no one's really mad at me. At the same time, I feel like for her way of doing things is social connections.
Right.
And with the Brent thing, like, I'm going to save you, like, and that's my way of connecting with you, because that's what that's how Brent, that's what Brent appreciates, right? Like, I don't think she's on anyone's radar either. I think she's making social connections with everyone. I don't think Spencer would bring her in, even, because she's not like starting big waves or anything. She kind of does it in the background in her confessionals or whatever. So it's like he's playing it. I feel like their game is kind of the same. Like, I feel like they're at the same level.
Yeah.
Does that mean that they're both A's and she's just like, I don't think she's behind him or in front. Like, I feel like they're the exact same. Like, I think she should go up, because I think from the beginning until now, her game has really expanded now that she's gotten to know people. But I don't know, whatever you guys think.
My only counter is that I feel like she mismanages information at times.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
We saw last episode, if Katie wasn't gone, I think Katie and Marcelo are going to be like this, and then she starts going. She has that. Or you got literally the last interaction she had with Brendan, where she's like, I'm going after all the guys, and Brendan's like, oh, I need to go.
Okay, I agree with that. So she needs to keep it a little bit closer to her chest.
Yeah, like if she gives me an episode where she doesn't mess up, like I move her up.
Yeah. I think she's just had a little bit of also luck, like where with Rachel being the detective and then that kind of falling into her lap. I think she's still good, but I think there's also a little bit of luck on her side, which is not a bad thing. Sometimes it happens. So that's why, I see what you're saying.
Yes, I agree with you. Good point, Isaac. Yeah, I agree.
Both good points, though.
I think she's good for exactly where she is.
So we got Josh next. Josh laid low this episode, honestly. He didn't really make as many waves. He still has LOS. I think his strategy at this point is to like just do his thing and not really make any enemies. And then I feel like he has a sense of security with an LOS that until he until he doesn't have that, he's chilling. And I think once he has that, we're going to see, like I'm playing hard against Josh. But until then, I don't think he wants to look like a threat. And I think also voting Brent kind of makes people like, maybe they're not that close. So I don't know. I mean, I also don't like the vote on Brent instead of Spencer. So I'm really but like I feel like there's also, I totally forgot, Marcelo and Josh also had that little connection they had last round as well. So maybe I would keep him there. Like I was debating dropping him a little bit, but maybe not. How do you guys think?
I would drop them.
I was going to say,
I nothing's going on with those two right now. Like I'll put them back up when I'm waiting for Marcelo's snake move, and right now there is none. And I don't think he's making waves. I don't think he's making any moves. I think he's just kind of floating in the middle there, which would be a C level. And with Josh, like he threw a vote on Brent, which was like, Why?
Allegedly his like ally, like his closest, not
Yeah.
closest, Billy's his closest, but second at least closest ally.
So
And
you
Brent
think we
was like,
drop Josh?
yeah, I think we should
Okay.
drop Josh a little at least. Yeah, because
Okay.
I
I
think
would even drop
LOS
Marcelo too. Like,
yeah, Marcelo definitely
Oh,
also.
okay.
mm-hmm.
I think yeah, it's because I think for me Rachel moves up. I don't know if
Yes.
she moves out of a C, but like I think for sure she moves up.
High C.
High C.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, the only conversation I have with Marcelo, I think he has a lot. Like, I don't know. Like, I
His
think
connection to
beforehand,
Jacob is
His
what's
connection
keeping
with
him
Jacob is
high.
keeping him.
I've also
in a B.
noticed, like, this episode, a lot of people were empathetic for him almost, and he has like Billy now owes him something, and I think Shireen likes him. You know what? I'll keep him at C, but like I feel like if he has another strong episode, then I'd consider rating.
Mhm.
Yes, I agree. I feel like Rachel has a better bond.
Mhm.
Yeah,
She's
exactly.
in an alliance.
She's in an actual alliance. Like she voted the right, like the way she said she was gonna vote. Whatever. Marcelo, Marcelo, I don't see any actual moves happening with Marcelo.
Exactly.
Like the move I saw was people felt empathetic about him, and that's the only move I've seen. Other than that, he's just chilling there, and that's why we put Rachel and Natalie and stuff that low. So why can't we put him that low? Just because he isn't connected to Jacob? You know what I mean? That's the only reason I'm like, I don't know why he would be at the same level as Billy and Shireen.
No, we're
actually working and doing things where he's just like, I'm just gonna chill and look for LOSs this whole episode, and I don't care if I don't talk to the big group. But
exactly.
if he makes a big move next, then I'll move him up.
Yeah, exactly what you just said. That's the reason why I think he's there.
I still do think it's also a factor of timing. I'm cool with keeping him there, but I will say, just to defend his game a little bit, because I don't know why I feel so good. Like, I don't understand it, but I feel like it's also like a timing factor. Like, I feel like he's waiting. And since he doesn't need to like do anything crazy right now, like all his allies from the beginning, like, I don't know if you guys remember the 6 that formulated. Like, those were all the quote unquote big people, right? Jay West is gone. Katie's gone. Moon is gone. You got Brent's being targeted. You got Jacob, who's possibly being targeted now. And then you got Marcelo. No one's looking at the guy. So it's like, but I'm also like not strong enough on his game to defend it.
At the same time, he didn't do anything to get himself there. He's just there.
No, it's just pre-game connections that got him there, right? And that's why I think it's actually exactly why you said it's everyone around him is leaving. So he better step it up because everyone around him is leaving. Okay. And that's why I think. Yeah, but I agree that I don't think he's playing a bad game. I think it's fine. I just don't. I think the other players are like emerging to the top. Basically, is what's happening.
That's fair. That's completely fair. We already talked about Rachel. You know, she's honestly like the head of the Girls Alliance. Honestly,
yeah, she is. She is.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and I'm actually kind of interested to see if people start to realize that, because I think they thought that Muna was like kind of running that for a while, but like it was Rachel. So we'll see. I like, come on. I think Spencer's dropping to a D.
And by D, end of D.
Yeah.
End.
He's like on the edge of like Brent. I'm no, I think still D. I'm considering putting him low C, but at this, like, just because he kind of
I really
points.
I think I would move him up because I really think that he tried and he's really like pushing himself like tone wise at least, right? Like I think he did what he needed to do and is moving forward in that way. So I think he's a low C because and how he handles him and Josh might move him down or up.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, I'm gonna put him low C because he actually, like you said, Sasha, like this episode, he actually handled himself pretty well. Even when he was like in the bottom, yes, he did his like erratic ways a couple times, which and television, so whatever.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he kind of knew when he needed to pull it back and not have it happen so much. And his points actually came through this time because again, every single one of his points that he is making is actually correct. But this time he knew, okay, let me make this point without being crazy about it, you know? So I think he did really good this episode in saving himself.
I said it last episode, and I'm gonna say it again. I said if Brent comes out this alive, I'm raising him, and
there
I really
he is.
I agree.
Are really like, this is just Brent. Like, you heard Rachel saying like, I don't like the guy. He's bossy, but he's always going to be a target, and he's not coming after me, so I'm gonna let him do his antics.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of people are looking at him like no one's going to waste a week on Brent when there you got Spencer in the house, you got Jacob in the house, you got even to a degree like a Josh in the house, or like I don't like until those people leave, I don't think people are going to be really concerned with Brent.
And he's selling himself, which I think to a degree he believes, as like I think he is the oldest person in the house. So he's also saying that piece and saying, like, I just don't think I'll be good in any competition. Because I think with the first battle match with Josh, he said he was trash at puzzles. So I really think that he's being vocal about that in a good way, like being like, I'm just not good. And I don't think that the sob story is working as much as he thinks it is, but like I think that just him saying all the right things, thankfully, the package is now being received.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And then the last person, Natalie, I think I want to move her up too.
For sure.
Honestly, like over Brent.
Yeah.
And why I think she did enough work this episode. Well, first of all, she came last episode. People know that she's here to play now. She left the episode. Now she's like she's in with the girls now. So yeah, they lost Muna, but I think they're bringing in Natalie now. So that's her replacement, honorary replacement right now. She's working with Jacob right now. So she actually has a leg up over Jacob, surprisingly. Unfortunately she didn't get an LOS. That would have put her a little bit higher for me, but she didn't get that. But I think people like her now. People are having conversations with her now. And I think that she has some sort of capital. Billy and her aren't on bad terms anymore. So I'm like, no one's really targeting Natalie right now. So I'd put her above Brent.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. I think, again, like I said, she just wasn't given a chance before. Now she finally is. So that's why I don't think that it was how they were viewing her, how the edit was maybe viewing her, right? Like not as many confessionals or basically none. I think that was almost giving her that D rating. That's why I feel like it would make sense. That's why I agree.
And I will say she has another, like, this was a very strong episode for her, and if she has another one, like, she might move up even higher.
I just want to know where her like solid connections are. Like I want to see it instead of us kind of maybe like implying it a little.
I need to see your web.
Yeah. Exactly.
And just to reply to Joseph, because what he said, so I would have Jacob at a B because he was paranoid with the twist, and he has 1 or 2 more before he looks. I said this last episode too. I think Jacob was looked at still is looked at as the shield, the ultimate shield. But now that people are calling him out, I think that his stock is going to start dropping slowly by episode. If he doesn't recover next episode, I can see him dropping out of A. Like straight up, I do. Like, I don't like, he's trying to recover and almost reset completely. Like he's throwing his old game out and starting over. But like I feel like he could have did that, just not yet. And I think he did it a little too fast. So
that's basically. Yeah, and that's basically our question, right? Because I for sure think that they were like getting closer to him almost, where he's not at that S level or that tier anymore. But I just think if he's able to maneuver out of this, it's a wrap. But so that's why I think I'm willing to give him a little grace for one episode.
I always need to see at least 2 episodes for the body of
Yeah,
work
yeah.
before I come over
Yeah,
because,
totally. I hear that.
so that is our podcast for the night. Sasha, Chanel, what are you guys getting into?
Work, don't stop.
I'm going to bed because I have to work tomorrow.
that.
I
I
know.
feel
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good to chat with you.
So we will be back possibly next Monday because I actually got to work Sunday. So we might see you guys on Monday. I'll just keep looking on the Twitter and we will keep you guys updated. But for now, this is Silent Sequester and good night, everybody.
Bye.
See ya.